So the DRC president is already in this venue where the inauguration is going to happen, and he's expected to deliver his keynote address, his inaugural address. And some of the issues that he's going to talk about is how he's going to unite this country, how he's going to deal with the insecurity in the east, where there's a rebel group that has occupied a number of territories of the DRC, and also how he's going to help improve the social, economic condition of the Congolese people. Now, this is a country that is endowed with a lot of natural resources, all the kind of minerals, the precious stones, gold, diamond, uranium is all found here. But most of the people of the DRC are living in poverty. The World Bank says about 70% of the population of this country is in poverty. So President Felix Tshisekedi is going to, in his next term, going to try and see how to use the country's resources to help lift the people of Congo out of poverty. That is what is going to happen here. He has invited very many heads of state and government from the Southern African Development Community, and leaders from the East African community as well are here witnessing him taking his oath of office.
Chris, thank you for that update. You've spoken to the challenges that DRC is facing, also some of the key priorities, those in attendance as well at the inauguration. And given East Africa, I wonder from your vantage point how well it is represented at the inauguration today, but also just looking at the UN peacekeepers expected to leave the country at around April. How has the SADC troops been received? How do you think that's also impacting the relationships and the dynamics unfolding there?
Yeah, so the DRC government has said repeatedly that it's about time they take charge of the security of their country. But because the government in the DRC has been very weak for many years, because this army was formed as a result of a peace deal that was made in South Africa in the 1990s, in Sun City specifically, and it incorporated different rebel groups to form a national army. But the army has had very many weaknesses. So the DRC government has been relying on troops like the United Nations peacekeeping force and the East African troops who were asked to leave because they could not help in fighting the M23 rebels. And so the departure of the UN peacekeepers is certainly going to have a big impact on how the civilians in that area who have been protected by the UN will be going forward. But the government has said that it has taken measures, it has bought equipment, and it has put aside enough money to be able to take on the role that the United Nations peacekeepers have been playing in this country. So when they leave, eventually by the end of this year, the DRC government will take over all the areas where they have been stationed and be able to secure the borders of this country.
Chris, as we ramp up, what about handling the relationship with other East African countries?
The relationship is still very frosty, especially with members of the East African community, and that's because the troops from the East African community that deployed in the DRC last year were not able to fight and push out the M23 rebels who have occupied a number of territories in the east of the DRC. And the other reason that really the relationship between the DRC and countries from the East African community was a press conference that was held in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, in December by the former electoral commission chief of the DRC, a man called Kone Nanga. He went to the Kenyan capital and announced that he's launching a new military outfit that was going to work with the M23 rebels. Now that really rattled officials in Kinshasa. They asked the Kenyan government to arrest him, but the Kenyan government said they could not arrest him because he did not commit any crime in their country. And so they recalled their ambassador in Kenya and the ambassador in Tanzania, where the headquarters of the East African community is. So the relationship is still not yet very good, but the government is trying to work out ways of living, coexisting peacefully, because these are neighboring countries of the DRC, and they will have to, learn to put aside their differences for the good of their people.
All right, Chris, let's leave that conversation there. Thank you for that update at this hour. Chris Ochamringa, of course, the SABC News correspondent, bringing us the latest DRC presidential inauguration of President Felix Tshisekedi occurring. He's bringing us the latest regarding those dynamics unfolding.